So speaking of my experts, to my left, I have the beautiful Miss Winter Harris. She is an author and a relationship expert. And to my right, I have Dr. Oliver T. Reed, who is also known as the relationship architect. I like that. So we are going to just jump right in. And I have a question for both of you. I'm going to start with the lovely lady here. Do you think that men and women can share platonic relationship as friends
without getting romantically involved?
Without getting without any feelings, emotions, no romance, none of that extra stuff.
Absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely. I think two mature adults who understand their place and position in the other person's life, yes. And I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy to have friends of the opposite sex.
Now, okay. So let me get what your point of view, doctor.
I agree. I think it's absolutely possible. I do think that it's few and far between.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because someone a lot of times will not know their place.
Okay.
And will take it.
They'll start to catch feelings.
Yes.
And see, that's what I've never had just a male friend. So I'm like, I would love to have a male friend, but I always felt like maybe it was someone, suppressing feelings or settling for a friendship. I think we use that word too loosely. And they became friends with benefits.
Yes.
So I think a lot of that is going on.
True.
But that's interesting that you both said you think that can happen. Okay. Well, I'm find a friend. All right.
It's tough for beautiful women.
Yeah. Okay, is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm like, Winter,
I understand. I do have friends, but you know
Okay.
what? I was having the same issue, especially when I first got divorced.
Okay.
And I had a male friend of mine. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I just want to be friends. I don't like them like that.
Right.
And he said, Winter, I'm going to break it to you. You are an attractive woman. Just assume that every guy who wants to be your friend is interested in more if you allow the opportunity. It's just the way it is. You can't control it.
Okay,
that's
true.
just human nature. If a man sees an attractive woman, they're sight driven. So if they like what they see, chances are they will be interested if there's an opportunity. You just have to be clear and firm that,
and don't send mixed signals.
Don't send mixed signals.
Okay.
I just want to be friends. Make the boundaries clear. And usually they can, settle into that. But that's why. I just want to clear that up.
Just a friend with nothing extra. Just hang out, someone you can talk to, someone that's supportive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll see what happens. So how do you take friendship and transition that into marriage? Because I've heard that you should be friends first. So we'll start with you this time, Dr. Reed.
I think it's very important, but stepping back a little bit to talk about friendship, it goes back to how people view friendship. That word friendship to somebody else is totally friends with benefits to somebody else. So defining what friendship is, and based on your culture, your background, what you've been through, your trauma, or not trauma at all.
Right.
My friendship could be somebody that just hangs out and then we're just cool. Somebody else's friendship could be somebody that communicates. We share intimate secrets. We spend time together. Some people's friends is I just call you when I need you. So I think really going back to the word friendship and understanding the definition and how people view it.
Right.
And have a common denominator.
Right. So have that initial conversation. And before I get to the marriage piece, I do want to ask a question for those who are struggling with dating. So before we get to the marriage piece, if you're struggling with dating, I don't know anything about dating right now, but are you finding that the folks that you all talk to are successful with online dating? How does that work for people? Or do you all prefer, do you teach your clients to meet folks in person, have consultation? How does that work as far as finding your significant other? As women, I don't even think that we should be finding, but that's just my...
I always go back, and I hate to sound so broad and vague, but what works for somebody may not. I always say that there's people that I counsel or talk to, that I coach, they met online, Facebook, Instagram, they met on a dating site, and it worked perfectly for them.
Okay.
But I always challenge them to say, but you still need to go where she is.
Yes.
Okay.
And you still need to go where he is. You need to get around each other and don't base the whole premise of the relationship around social media. But also, at the same time, don't just delete social media. And some people think it's of the devil because,
Oh, my Lord.
that could be an opportunity that connects you with that perfect someone.
Okay. And
I completely agree with him. I believe that social media has given us more options.
Okay.
It has widened your playing field. Whereas we were limited to geographic location without social media. Now the world is our geographic location. So it gives you more options. But the same amount of caution you would exercise with someone that's in your face, you would exercise the same amount of caution with someone online. I agree with closing the gap as soon as possible if you begin an online relationship, because you want to see if there's an organic connection in person. You can't really gauge that a lot of times online. You want to see if that carries over, but you want to close and see how you interact on a day-to-day basis. But you can meet a person anywhere. And I think to say you can't meet a sincere relationship online is ludicrous, because I meet friends online. You know?
Right.
Same thing for romantic.
So with all those options, sometimes could even make it harder. Sometimes you have so many options, so many people to choose from, or potential. And this area is so transient. So people are constantly coming and going. Do they even have roots? So getting back to dating, what are some successful tips that you all can give folks that are dating? What does dating even mean anymore? Like when I used to go out, I would, like to go out to dinner and things like that. And the men would often pay. I'm just a little old school. Yeah. But now I guess there's, it's a little different now. What do you think, Winter?
Define who you are and define what you want. Okay. That is the biggest struggle that people have when dating. That's good. They don't know who they are and they don't know what they want. When you put two people who don't know each other in the same room, same table, one person could just want to hang out. The other person could be looking for marriage. Right off the bat, you have two different views of what dating is. And so define what you want and be very clear about that. Don't be afraid to state, hey, I'm dating with a purpose. I'm dating for marriage. And then if you're not, say, hey, I'm not looking for anything. I just want to have fun. I just want to have fun. Be clear. And I find that adults, grown adults struggle with being clear. You have to be clear. Define who you are and define what you want is what I've advise anyone to do first starting out when you just want to date. Figure out what it is you're going for.
Now, why do you think, like you said, adults have a hard time being clear?
So I'm going to go back to what the doctor just said. It's experience, it's background, it's really what they've gained as they've grown. Like what is your experience? If you've only experienced just kind of one night stands, that's the way you kind of operate. Seriously, it's the truth. And how we're conditioned. If you've always seen, like for me, I will say, I came from a 2-parent household. My parents were married for over 27 years. So for me, going into dating, I date for marriage. That's my thought. You date, you fall in love, you get engaged, you get married. Exactly. But here, that was a huge eye opener for me.
Okay.
Yes, that a lot of guys are like, hey, I just want to have fun. I'll buy you a drink. And so learning to accept that it was okay to want what I desired, just to make sure I paired with a like-minded person.
Yes.
So
love that. Just be upfront very early on.
Absolutely.
So expectations are met, or you can make a decision to not move forward.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts?
I'm with Winter. I think it's one of the things that I would say that, but the opposite side of that is that most people don't unpack themselves before they set a date. And I always say that, I look at that word date in the literal sense. When you set a date, it's an appointment, which means, going back to what Winter said, it should be intentional. If you're dating, if you're hanging it out, it should be, what do I want from this date? But at the same time, I have to unpack from John or Jim if I'm a female, or Jane or Jennifer from a male, because if not, I'm going with the false expectation that I'm dating Jane when me and Jane are over, and I'm now with Jenny. So being able to unpack, don't have any expectation, come in and say, hey, we're just going to have some drinks. But I think some people go in with setting a date as meaning that let's set a wedding date on our first date.
That's true.
And now the expectation is that we got to be serious.
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah.
So I do want to get both of your opinions on this. We're all taught about self-love, like you said, learning ourselves, working through our issues, dealing with past hurt traumas before we move on into relationships. How important is it for us to master who we are, at least to get a good grip on who we are before we engage in long-term relationships?
It's everything. It's the foundation.
Right. Okay.
I can only use myself as an example because that's the best example to use. I got married at 19. I had no idea who I was at 19. So you could imagine the bumps in the road that we experienced through our marriage simply because we didn't know who we were.
Right.
Now, as a almost 38-year-old woman, I'm confident. I'm sure you're not gonna pull the wool over my eye. This is what I want. If you cannot, provide what I want, then I'm good. And you can go on, and I can go on, and nothing's taken from me because I'm sure and I'm secure in who I am. It's the foundation. If you're not you're setting yourself up for failure. That's just my opinion.
I think you cannot, and I talk about in a number of books that I've written, you cannot go past relationship. Even if you're by yourself, you're relating to yourself.
So true.
Or not relating to yourself is still a relationship. Some people don't take time for themselves, and you really don't have anything in your own love tank. And a lot of times we want people to fill our love tank. Yeah. We don't love ourselves. So we're projecting a sense of false love and now fix it for me. Right. And that's a lot of responsibility to put it on somebody else. Fix it flat. Like, whip out this magic jack and make me whatever. But if I don't love myself, like Winter said, coming to a point of embracing yourself, relating to yourself, taking yourself out, or taking yourself on a journey to discover I have some good, I have some bad, I have some ugly. Right. And whoever I'm going to get with is going to have the same thing.
Right.
And so it's just really coming to say, how am I going to embrace myself, because I carry myself to every relationship.
Right.
Whether that's work, business, in the DMV, whatever it is, I'm going to carry myself to that particular place and understanding that, hey, the onus is on me. Right. To stay in that relationship, to relate or not to relate, or move on.
Self-love is so important. And what would you say with that, Winter, as far, because sometimes we hear, just like what you said, you have to love yourself, you have to fall in love with yourself. What does that mean? Because so many people struggle with that. It's not just going out to the spa or treating yourself to dinner. What is that in your alone time, when you're by yourself? How do you learn how to love yourself? Share with our audience what that means.
It's accepting who you are in the most rarest, rawest form, your imperfections. I think it's easy for us to love ourselves when we're perfect in our eyes, or when we're great, or when we're walking in our gifts and our talents. That's the easy part. But can you love yourself when you failed? Yeah. Can you love yourself when you don't live up to the expectations of friends and family? That's who we are. It's not who we are with the glitz and glamour. I mean, I look great when a makeup artist, but you want me to do it? Right. When I strip all that off and I'm home and I'm by myself, do I love Winter? Do I love who she is? Do I love what I represent? Do I love what I bring to the table? Am I sure about what I bring to the table? Right. Those are, we have the ability to fill our own tanks. And this is why people leave relationships so devastated and broken, because we relied on somebody else to fill our tanks. If we understand that we have the ability to fill our own tanks, then that's where that self-love starts. We start to feel ourselves. We start to be self-reliant and self-sufficient in a way that when we go to a relationship, we're confident that I'm adding.
Right.
When you leave, you don't take anything from me because I'm able to fill my own tank.
I love that.
That's self-love. And the best. I fill my own tank.
Put my own gas.
And it's to what you said. It's putting a lot of responsibility on someone else to make us happy. Yeah. Or to love us. While that is a part of it, it shouldn't be the sum total of who we are.
And we're going to get to that, because that was a question that I had. If you are watching us on Facebook Live, please continue to like, share, comment. Okay? We are getting some great information, and we want more of your questions. Speaking of questions, I have one right now that I'll open up to both of you. If you see a 70% match on social media, but something you don't like with that other person, do you still pursue the connection? Let's start with you, Dr. Reed.
I think if you got 75 in anything, let's look at a business. Look at it. If you got 75, and I tell people a lot of time in coaching, just do something simple. Let's fold this piece of paper in half, and you write a list of all the positive things, the pros and the cons. If your pros outweigh your cons, then I think you stay in there. You can gamble and go and get a 60% negative on the other end. But it also